is the drop in some revenue from the grant income, but I mean, this is all the programs we're running. But the other thing is you'll see this is Lyle's included a comparative month-to-month balance sheet, something for you to look at. You'll see that we're down about 80,000. That's mostly from stuff going out for the grants and our total current assets. But that will give you a look from month to month to see how everything's going. And other than that, unless you have questions, there's really nothing major that jumped out at me in the financials for the LDC.
Motion to accept the treasurer's report.
So moved.
For a second.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Committee reports. Anything there? Not council reports. Jefferson County Ag Development.
Well, good morning, everybody. Lot going on out there. We've been battling the weather, obviously, in agriculture. Some farms are reporting crop loss in different fields. It depends upon location. But for the most part, I think they're weathering through it. No pun intended. I know that was terrible. But anyways. No, it's just too early.
So we've had two weather events. We had the windstorm.
Yes.
Is that where the crop damage is, or from it being wet?
Wet.
Okay.
It's the wind that I know of, the reports I've heard, the wind that we've had with these storms did knock over some corn, but it didn't snap it. And as long as it didn't snap it, usually this time of year that corn will recover. More concerned actually for the wet on vegetable operations. Some of our vegetable operations in the county have been, pretty strongly impacted by losing plants due to the wet conditions and so on. We don't think about that often because we have always been dairy, but now we've got more and more vegetable operations, and when they lose their plants, they don't have 1,000 acres to recover with. They've got a couple acres to recover
Is it
with.
disease?
It's flooding the plant right out.
Really?
Yeah. Yep. So that's what I've been hearing as far as the weather goes. So I was worried about hail with some of those storms, but and I thought we had hail coming in with some of the storms, but never seemed to materialize, which is good. On other notes, Commissioner Ball, the Department of Ag and Markets Commissioner, Richard Ball, is coming into town tomorrow to tour CWT Farms. We invited him in, so he's going to make a swing through. And we're going to pull him aside and talk about all kinds of other projects that we have going on. So we'll be excited to have his audience for a little bit of the day anyways. Congresswoman Tenney is coming in to hold a manufacturers roundtable here in the next week or so. And we're trying to set up a separate meeting with her while she's here just to talk about some of the other little projects we've got going on. Give her an update on things. Grant administration, I won't steal too much of Robin's thunder, but the ag grants are coming along nicely. We're wrapping up one from round one. We only have two outstanding, and one of them is getting wrapped up here. So I'll be glad to see that happen. And we'll probably be talking about, do we do a round three, or do we do something else with the money here shortly? We do have extra money left over, so which we had planned on from the beginning. Other than that, looking forward, we're going to have an FFA student participating in the Ag Council meeting for the first time here coming up 2 weeks as our next Ag Council meeting. So welcome that, and just all kinds of good things, big things, small things happening out there in agriculture. So we're keeping very busy.
How did the 5 inch, well, some places 5 inches of rainfall affect the fair? They have any water at the fairgrounds? Was that an issue?
I didn't hear any horror stories. If it's fair week, it rains. So it wouldn't be the fair if they didn't get a big thunderstorm moving through where they all have to hang on to the tents at some point. And they had to hang on to the tents at some point during fair week. So I didn't hear any horror stories, Ed. So
What are you hearing about the small family farms? I know it's out for years. It's been a difficulty for them to maintain and stay alive.
sure.
Is it still?
Are you talking about the small dairy farms or the small family farm in general?
In general?
In general. So, it is a challenge for any of our agricultural businesses. It's a challenging industry to get into. But what I'm seeing here in Jefferson County is an uptick in those small operations that are diversified. They're trying to do beef, they're trying to do poultry, they're trying to do vegetables. And in part, we're playing a big role in that. 67 grants we have out right now, all to basically diverse operations across the county. So to be honest, Chris, I'm excited about what I see with small family farms. Doesn't mean we're going to see the way, it's not going to look like what it was back in the 1970s with the dairy farm almost on every block. But we are seeing a resurgence in small diversified operations. We're seeing growth in the types of products we can grow here. And I think we can hopefully expect that to continue. So it's a good question.
Another question on small operations. We've talked a lot of time about USDA inspection. Is that required for poultry too?
If are you talking about the processing side?
Well, there's a local farm I've seen posted on a local web board that is offering chickens.
USDA. Okay. So yeah, if you get above a certain size, yes. There's a certain number, and forgive me, I don't remember the exact number. It's in the thousands. You can process on your farm a certain amount of chickens yourself, following the right practices
without having to go through
without the USDA inspection. What is appealing, if you're willing to pay the extra, what is appealing is that USDA stamp on the poultry helps the consumer feel better about the product that they're buying. So that's why you'll see some of these producers, plus they can sell a little bit farther abroad when they have that USDA stamp.
But if they're doing 50 chickens a month, they probably exempt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
I haven't bought any, but I see they're offering them from sale at like.
we've funded processing equipment for it's either 3 or 4 of our grant projects have funded the purchase of on-farm processing equipment because they do have that envelope where they can process so many birds on farm and sell direct to consumer.
Okay.
Chris, I think you've seen the last 25 years in the industry, the middle is gone. It's gone. The small farm, that small traditional all around us dairy farms, they're gone. They're off the playing field. All you're seeing now is the large guys and the small guys. The middle is gone. Small guys being Amish and Mennonite, a lot of them. They're still hanging on with some organics, 25 cows, 30 cows. I went to a conference in Utica this spring, and and it was at a religious or a church convention center, and I walked in and the place was full. It's 300 dairy farmers in there. I'd never been to in that kind of environment in 15 years. They were all Amish and Mennonite. They're alive and well and doing strong, but all that middle is kind of gone. There's also another thing, Jay. I've been aware there's 2 huge pools of money at play coming to Jefferson County that are buying farmland. You're seeing a big migration, and it's coming back to water issues due to climate change from the West and Midwest.
Yeah.
This is serious money, and they're openly buying farmland right now
For farm use.
for farm use. Now, whether they're using carbon credits, whether they're selling water rights there and coming and buying, who knows the real money behind it? But we're gonna see, my prediction, we're gonna see the farmland price in Jefferson County double in the next 2 years because of that buying spree that's about ready to start.
Well, out west, there's the big articles of the Chinese buying up also.
Well, behind these pools of money, I don't know. You don't know if they're legit. You don't know how.
Are they just buying land or are they buying the whole operations?
They prefer open land. Standing order right now.
And what's gonna happen is they're gonna buy the land that is traditionally leased.
A
Right?
lot of these guys that are leasing land, it's
It's gonna impact them like the solar is out west.
and they're writing checks, $5,000 to $6,000 an acre to get it done. The land values been 2,000, 3,000 and kind of stagnant there. These guys are serious. So watch out. That's a trend I see happening. It's good in a lot of ways. A lot of guys are going to be able to retire now. You know, if they can't put a solar array on their farm, you know, now they've got a chance. For that kind of money, they will split the farm up and sell the open land and carve out 50 acres for their house and retire.
And I'll stop after this. With some of those small farms, the other nice part is we're seeing soldiers. And I think I talked about it maybe 2 meetings ago. Soldier leaves active duty at Fort Drum. He's starting a small farm with his family. He has a couple thousand meat birds. We help him out with a grant. He's getting into meat bird production. His wife works off the farm. So we are seeing some soldiers getting into agriculture here.
Staying here.
So,
CWT got eggs yet or?
yep, they have eggs in the hatchers and incubators, still test runs. That's why we're able to get a tour. But the time of tours is drawing to a close here pretty quickly. So,
When you say test runs, what do they do with the chicks?
they'll sell.
Yeah.
But they're at a point right now where and they don't even have all of their employees yet. But they're bringing in birds, testing the equipment, testing all of the technology to make sure it works
Nice.
properly.
They must be doing a lot of testing.
Oh, you crack me up, Dave.
Oh, no, I
Yeah,
know, I just know the waste stream coming.
yeah.
Yeah.
The other pressure you're going to see on farmland, I watched the farm a month ago between Shimo and Bowville, 450 acre farm, traditional 80 cow dairy farm. It's been stagnant for the last 20 years. Got sold at market value, less than $2,000 an acre. Guys just carved it up. Started clearing, selling 10 acre building lots, 100 grand a pop. So you're going to start the housing pressure. Try and find a building lot in the, around the, and there's the going rate for a 200 by 200 foot building lot anywhere on the secondary road is 10 grand,
Well,
and you can't find them.
I think there was a meeting, and I don't mean to take away from you, but about pressure from the big development in Syracuse, housing issues in Jefferson County. And that's going to, I would imagine Southern Jefferson County is going to see an influx of that type of stuff with people coming from Micron.
It's an easy commute, and guess what's this way? The river. The summer.
It's an easy commute, 11 months of the year.
There was
Well, with
one,
working from home, but
there was one last note. When you mentioned that, it made me think of it. I had talked about pressure from environmental groups here in the county mounting against agriculture. I worked with some of the agencies in Farm Bureau Farm Bureau is now going to take the lead along with Doug Shalmadine, and they're going to be putting together a group to lead the way in offering a proactive messaging effort for agriculture. So we got that started and handed it off, and our first effort will be a meeting with Katie Malinowski from Tug Hill Commission to talk about the Lake Ontario National Marine Sanctuary and the positive things that agriculture has contributed to that sanctuary over the years. So a little bit of a
Get ahead of it.
Is Farm Bureau jumping in on the wood issue to, is the wood issue still going?
Yeah, that's still going. Farm Bureau has been behind the scenes on that. Lyle has some pretty good attorneys, and he's been doing a lot of work to fight that lawsuit. So keep our fingers crossed.
Thanks, Jay.
That's it. Manufacturing,
That was a great report, Jay, because you covered a lot of stuff. I mean, from the manufacturing side, agriculture, manufacturing, and we have a lot of interesting things going on. Jay covered basically all of it. I will say that we're working on the agenda for our Jeff Lewis Manufacturing Alliance next meeting, which I believe to be taking place in October. Robin, did we say?
Yep.
So we're working on the agenda there. If anybody has any good ideas on things that we should cover, that would be great. But as I say, from the manufacturing side, got a lot going on, and a lot of it is in things that we know, and we know food processing, we know agriculture, and ag manufacturing, and it's wonderful.
Marshall has, and this comes to the county too, under workforce development, looking at trends with manufacturing.
Mhm.
When you look at potential build outs and expansions, especially in food processing,
Yeah.
you couple that with labor force.
Mhm.
There's a big component of it that is going to capture migration,
Yeah.
immigrant labor pools,
Yeah.
especially when you look at what New York State is proposing. I mean, they want to relocate these people. I was at Red Barn Meats. Their expansion is completely reliant on migrant labor. That's the only way they've been able to. I mean, they've got a workforce there, and it's stabilized their business. It's allowed them to do a major expansion. Without that, they wouldn't be going down that road.
Yeah.
So I just ask ourselves, Jefferson County, who's going to help these people integrate a potential migrant workforce into their place of business?
Sure.
And they need a clearinghouse. They need an office to help them match that up.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm not sure that those pieces are in place right now. I know that we're going to be, places like Cheryl's shop over at the workplace. They'll definitely have a role. It's unclear to me if that's going to be a state level thing, if they're going to be pushing counties to do that independently. My guess is there'll be some guidance on how we should form these. Really these. I don't know if this is going to be an agency thing, but so much of what we have going on in Jefferson County, whether not even just manufacturing, but just people, and we need them. We can't lose anybody that we got, and we need a good skilled workforce for just generally speaking we need it, but it seems more critical right now, especially with these big projects like Micron, and there's going to be an impact.
I think these businesses are going to need a resource to help match that up.
Mhm.
And can it be I think it's gonna come back to a county function of devoting some resources for a resource person
Yeah.
to help navigate.
Can I just jump in?
Yeah.
State's working on it.
Yeah.
So everything here, so we had a workforce development meeting and Jay was in attendance. So New York State Department of Labor was talking specifically about that, and how they're getting migrant immigrant workers through their systems to vet them out. And on the other side of that, they're trying to fast track as much. But I was actually quite surprised how well organized the state was in this, because we had been hearing it, and nobody quite knew. So it was a great presentation. And I know Jay was going to follow up with him about this, because it was tourism was at the same meeting, of course, agriculture, and you saw a lot of people peek up and say, "Whoa, what's this? How do we get people up here?" And so
Yeah, Marshall made me go to
yeah,
it.
So is this different than the program where they've been bringing in farm workers?
So the New York State Department of Labor, the assistant commissioner, deputy commissioner was here. Thanks to Cheryl Mayforth and her programs. They put on a great presentation for a bunch of us about the asylum seeker programs that they're putting in place and the temporary worker status people. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact terminology on that one. There's two different programs, and people coming through different programs have different time frames that it takes between the time you say you're looking for somebody and the time you're going to get somebody. To follow up on that meeting, we then brought the assistant commissioner back up to Jefferson County to do a relationship building program. We brought her to CWT Farms, gave her a tour of CWT Farms, brought her over to Old McDonald's Farm, gave her a tour there, plus some of her staff. And now it's time to try to get time to follow up beyond that and see how, we can start that process. We've talked a lot about it now. Now we've got to start the process. So I will be honest, and that's why I said Marshall sort of had to kick me to go. I'm always very reticent when it comes to talking about people that have migrated into the country and what is their status, because the last thing we want to do is put one of our businesses or farms in a situation where they make a mistake and next thing they know they've got ICE visiting them for the wrong reasons. So status of these people is critical. We have to make sure that we can ensure these people do have legal status. According to what they said, these people do. So anyways, I apologize. That's one of the things that I've been intending to follow up on. Just haven't quite gotten there yet. So,
My biggest
Rob,
concern
does
is
it
that they're,
sound like the state is ready to devote resources to directly interface like with businesses in Jefferson County?
well, I was going to try to answer that question before you asked it, and I don't know that they're there yet.
Right.
And I think they're still working through this, and I think any engagement we could get, give back to them would be important for our county for sure. So I'm with you 100% in all those topics, but I don't think they're quite there yet. But I think, have an opportunity to engage with the state to try to, partner with them on this so that we can.
and that's why we went the extra mile, Ed, to do the relationship building so that
All the right moves right now.
Yeah.
Try that, yeah.
are they going to ensure that before they, that the companies have tried to find existing labor before they bring in outside labor, or they just,
They could probably show it.
and you use the word vetted, are they going to vet these people
Yes.
properly? I just hope there are people that came across that immigrated legally
Right.
and not just snuck in.
Sounds like that's the point that they're really trying to
Yeah,
ensure.
That happens.
I hope so.
My
I hope.
wife worked with another teacher who crawled into the United States when she was a child with her family, and she's a New York State school teacher now. And it's been and she has children of her own. So it's unfortunate, but
Well, when you
some
look-
do get across that way, and try to get legal
It's the
status at some
vetting
point.
process.
But no, they're vetting.
But as, in the next 2 years, that pool that gets into the workforce, I would speculate 90% of them are going to be illegal. I mean, the pool, the millions that have come in the last 5 years, they're here. They're here now.
Yeah, but a lot of those millions came across, signed up through the process. It's what do they call them, the getaways. I just want to make sure they're vetted properly.
Yes.
And who knows what happens in November? Could change everything.
Good discussion. And yeah, I guess from the manufacturing side, unless anybody else has any other questions.
We're also scheduling manufacturing day with the schools.
Yep.
We're working on that first part of October with pairing the high schools with manufacturers in the Jefferson, Blue, St. Lawrence counties. We're working on that.
Yeah, that's always a great time pairing 50 schools with 25 manufacturers and getting everybody going in the right spot. It's a tricky afternoon. So if anybody would like to join us for that,
Is it every October? Because it seems like we just had that day.
yeah.
Yep.
Time flies. Even goes faster the older you get.
Thank you.
Well,
For sure.
one of my observations is that is guidance counselors. The weak link between matching those connections up really comes through, traditionally used to be guidance counselors' offices. And where systems have a great guidance counselor, things work well.
Yeah.
But many of the school systems, the guidance counselor is from outside the area, they've been there a year, and, they're not that ambitious, and the whole thing falls by the wayside.
And it is interesting, we say that because when we first started, the guidance counselors played a large role in that. And not that they're not participating now, but it seems like, we're dealing more with the teachers directly. And BOCES does a lot of our reach out for that stuff. But yeah, I follow you 100% agree.
I think the guidance counselors are dealing with other issues.
Yes, they're playing
No.
They,
Yeah.
maybe the career counselor is a whole different position. But,
We good on
School
manufacturing
psychologist.
and the marketing?
Well, we just continue with our marketing campaigns. And one thing I did, I was, thank you, Jay, for inviting me to speak yesterday at Rotary. That was great.
Was that getting even?
What did I do?
Rotary. Yeah, we're good.
Oh.
We have to
I pushed
separate
back
the
as
two.
much as I
Yeah,
could, and then, yeah. But marketing, not a whole lot to report for this month.
Unfinished business,
Good job.
ARPA fund reports.
Robin, could you do a quick little?
Yeah, we
discussion
are getting a really good handle on this. You saw the reports. We're kind of, I don't want to say closing out year one, but we do have some excess funds that we're going to pull into year two and start pushing and do another round, so to say, to get more of these grant funds out. You'll see on one of those sheets, there was not allocated. We knew small business productivity we didn't allocate like 10,000, but we have proposing a grant recipient to take care of that, but all that stuff is going to turn around and roll over under year two. And you'll see on round two, you'll see we over allocated for small business and food processing, but we knew we were over allocating because we knew we had excess money in round one. So it's washing itself out. But it's exciting to know that we'll be able to offer a bunch more grants here next month. So you'll be seeing some more come around.
And do we have people inquiring about them?
We actually still have a list that we're gonna reach out. We wanted to get these 3 that here and get my head on the grant program to see where we're at. So we know, can we offer 15, 2, or whatever the case may be. But yep,
Some of the, I did get a inquiry this morning for a productivity grant. I told them that I would be putting them on the list, but the issue is on some of these things, people that have a grant award and then they're not doing anything with it. And then, they say that they're gonna be doing the project and we have no reason not to believe them. But it is, there's some out there that we'd like to see get moving on their project, and if not, to give us some paperwork that says that they're going to pass on the grant, so that we can assign to somebody else, because there are businesses out there looking for it and they're ready to go. So
We don't have an expiration period?
Yes.
yes, we do.
That's the other thing. I was just gonna bring that up, and it's the end of this year.
Yeah,
Yes.
end of this year. And that's one of the things I am telling people also, that if we are able to give you a grant award, the time frame just gets shorter and shorter. So it would have to be, you have to have your money ready and be ready to go on your project. So, but yes, there is a time frame, and the grant continues to go forward and wonderfully, really.
Just a question, Bill, if I could, I apologize. With that said, that there's that deadline, does that deadline mean all of the money has to be used, gone, spent completely by that deadline? Or does it mean we have to have it allocated for a project?
I believe it's allocation by the end of the year. It doesn't totally have to be spent until I think the end of 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if we do another round for agriculture, it almost doesn't make sense if we have to have it out the door by the end of December, because in agriculture, that's tough to do for these folks. But
That's why I went through the grants. I even went through the contracts, because there were some, we got some money left over. So I looked at their contract. Okay, what did we reimburse for? Check, check, check. Okay, so they got less cost. So there's some money left over. So we're taking, I don't say taking that money back, but we're pulling it back because they spent what their contract was.
Yeah.
And that's where, and then we went through, there's several, as Marshall said, that who didn't do anything. And so we're like, okay, it's been 2 years, we're rolling that over. So we know, okay, we can offer 10 small business productivity, so much agriculture, whatever the case may be. So that's right, really locked in on year 1 to see, okay, what do we've got? Where can we move over?
What's the agency's intake for administrative burden for these? I mean, it's a big lift for staff.
It has been, the only administrative fee that we've taken was to cover the audit.
The two audits,
The
two
two
single
audits.
audits, yeah.
Audits, but that was the only fee we've taken.
yeah, I'll say it this way, maybe it's not the right way to think of it. We've actually prided ourselves on the money that comes in is going out the door to the taxpayers. Is that good business wise? If you consider us as a business, maybe not, because we certainly could use administrative fees to cover our expenses, but
I think it should be something considered in the future.
Yeah, because it's a lot of administrative work to make sure everything's running smoothly.
It's just like
nothing
any
gets
grant
lost.
writers. Any grant writers, they get an administrative fee for the most part.
Mhm.
They have to.
I'd just like to add that Robin, and I'm sure Marshall would say this if I wasn't, has been a godsend on this. Although she's holding our feet very tightly to the fire and they burn sometimes. But she's been doing a phenomenal job of helping us dot the I's and cross the T's and get a really good handle on exactly where things are. So very appreciated. And she gets a lot of help from Peggy and Lyle on doing that, so.
33 years of working under the Small Business Administration, I know all about compliance. And I'm a stickler for compliance.
And
So,
we're
yeah.
learning she knows all about compliance.
Just done an amazing job continuing the great work that Joy did before her as well. This really couldn't have gone better.
And as significant as those projects are, I better be careful here, but it hasn't overburdened staff's allocation
No, it's,
resources.
it's fine.
It's fine.
But
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. We're happy to do it, actually.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Anything from council?
No specific reports.
On the new business, first one is ARPA Small Business Productivity Improvement Grant recommendations.
Yes, we have 3 recommendations from the committee. I did print out a little bit more detail that's in the packet, but I'm just going to read this first. I'm going to read them each one of them, so it gives you a little bit of background here. First one for detail this. A 62-inch graph tech plotter significantly increased the productivity of your business in several ways. The precision and efficiency of the graph tech plotter allows us to cut paint protection film more accurately and quickly than manual methods, reducing the time required for each job and increasing our overall throughput. Second, the plotter's large size enables us to handle bigger sheets of film, minimizing waste and improving material utilization. And third, by automating the cutting process, we can reduce labor costs and free up our skilled technicians to focus on more complex tasks, such as installation and quality control. And then there's some advanced software capabilities, streamline workflow. This is a smaller grant award. The plotter was only $7,642. I say only. And then the committee grant award recommendation was 80% of that, which is $6,113.60.
I would just say that I've used their services for the past couple of years, and they're an excellent company.
They do amazing work. And I've been really, I would say surprised. I'm not surprised. Some pretty good professionalism by that crew
Very
as
much
well,
so, yeah.
which is great. It's great.
That's the way it went. Great.
Should I go on to the second one here? Focal Point Custom Framing. They would like to add a laser engraver to offer a large variety of products for customers and increase the speed at which we can turn around custom framing. This increase in speed will increase the productivity of our employees, where they can do more jobs in a shorter amount of time. This laser engraver works over 2 times faster than the current model. Thank you for considering our application.
Where is that located?
They are
I've not
on
heard of
Coffeen Street. There's a little plaza at the bottom of the hill on the left side across the street from the workplace. Their project budget is $13,759 for the laser engraver, and the committee recommends a $10,000 max award. And Tourism Product Enhancement Grant Project. This is a $27,923 project. Windows and door will increase access to the rear deck seating and new business from the waterfront. The boiler allow for more energy efficiency and comfort for customers in existing windows, and they have no screens and cannot be opened. These improvements will greatly enhance the customer experience, curb appeal, and attraction for tourists. This is for a rental property.
And where is it located?
They're on James Street in Clayton.
So I Googled this, and it comes up that they're headquartered out of Texas.
Yeah, that has been it's interesting because he has told me multiple times that they are indeed out of Clayton. I've been there to see it and talk to them. They're actually originally from Massachusetts, so the whole Texas thing is confusing to me.
Marshall, Rob.
Oh yeah, there's Rob right there.
So what is it, an eatery? What is it there?
This is for the rental property that they have.
Oh,
But
okay. So it's a residential?
It's a rental property above a business, and at the bottom is I think currently it's a popcorn shop. but then they rent the space above it.
So, but this is a tourism grant for a rental? Is it a week to week, like an Airbnb, or is it a year round?
I believe that he tries to rent it for months at a time. But they do advertise on Airbnb. Yeah,
And that fits in the tourism grant.
yes, it does. The one thing though, I would like to, this one, that whole Texas thing has really concerned me for a while. I'm kind of wondering if maybe we shouldn't table this.
I think we should too.
We talked about it, and I've talked to them numerous times. And honestly, I'm just thinking that we should probably table this until we get these things worked out.
I agree with
I don't
that.
know of a popcorn shop on James Street. There's one on Riverside.
Is it Riverside? I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So it's
I move we
Antillians. the
table
Antillians.
Yeah.
That building.
Do you want a motion then to table?
I think so.
I think we should table it for reconsideration.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor of tabling this? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consider it tabled.
Thinking that was an eatery, retail.
Can we get approval for the first two?
Yeah, that's true.
I'll move that.
I'll second. I'll go ahead, Chris. I'll second. Come on, I want you in the minutes.
All right, we had a motion and a second for the first two. Is there any other discussion on those? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And unless there's something else, we'll have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Good morning, Rob.
Morning.
Thank you.
You want me to chair this meeting, Bill, or you
Oh,
want?
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter to me either. I don't think we really have a hard rule about chairing things remotely, but I tried to refrain from doing that. I'll call the meeting to order. We've already done the pledge, I assume, in the first meeting. Privilege of the floor, if there is any.
On here.
Having that, the minutes, page 3, we've received them. We have two sets. We'll do them in order. So first, the normal meeting minutes, page 3. They've been received and reviewed and okay. Have a motion to accept them, please.
Second.
Okay. First and second, any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? The normal board meeting minutes carry. The special board minute meetings of July 8th are on page 6. They've been received. And if I have a motion to accept those as presented, please.
So moved.
Second.
First, second, any discussion? Barring any, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Paul, page 7, treasurer's report.
Well, I'd love to report to you that we had a lot of pilot leaseback fees come in this month and they didn't, but we did have an application fee come in. So the revenues are still well below what's budgeted, and I remind everyone that the pilot leaseback fees are a balancing number. I don't know if we have anything in the immediate near future we expect to close on to offset that. Once again, you'll see we have a comparative balance sheet month to month. Everything looks in order from the income and expense portion of it and from the previous month. But I have a couple things I wanted to talk about because we don't have the media, so I don't think we need to go into executive session. And I would just say I raised questions about. I noticed that we have the company that did the bus, what's the name of that again? Hales and 3 Mile Bay Ventures are overdue. And my concern with, we haven't closed on Hales yet.
Hales
closes the 6th, I believe it is. And the
Yep.
check and payment of the fees is being deposited today.
Okay, those are fees for those Hales and 3 Mile Venture only did the sales tax exemption. And I know that there's been an arrangement made with 3 Mile Bay Ventures to let him go for his sales tax abatement fee to be paid by this calendar year.
Yeah.
Moving forward, they've already enjoyed the benefit of the sales tax exemption. That I think in the future, we have to have a way to collect, what happens if they don't pay that fee? They've already enjoyed the benefit. That's my concern with letting those type of fees go past closing. I understand the reason. I mean, they're trying everything they can do to make it go, and they're running it. They have signs up now that their bar is open and all that stuff. So they're doing all they can to do it. But I think in the future, we need to collect those fees at the time of closing. And I'm okay with waiting till the end of the year. Don't get the wrong idea. I'm thinking in the future, they've already enjoyed the benefits and we haven't received our fee. And when you look at some of our fees and pilot leaseback stuff is so far out of whack from what our expectations and hopes are, that we have to start being a little more tough on those, unless we make those arrangements in advance.
What's the amount of that?
42,000 something.
Then from that, they gleaned how many hundreds of thousands? What was it? 180,000 in sales tax.
I can't remember the amount. It was
I think it was
substantial.
like 187. It was what they were, the top one.
So I'm just thinking in the future, either we have that arrangement made at the time of closing, that I just don't know what our actions would be if that never gets paid. So
I would think that you might be able to set it up on some sort of a schedule of repayment, because usually with a new business at the onset, they might not have the extra cash. Yes, they may have already had the advantage of that abatement, but they might not have had the revenues yet to support that. So it could be a schedule of payment.
I understand that, but I think if we set it up that way at the time of closing, it's perfect.
Agreed.
But that wasn't the case.
I just don't think a lump sum at closing.
Well, we set up balloon payments, and isn't there a balloon payment on this one also? On
No, there was interest only for 6
Interest?
months. I believe it was.
okay, so I'm just thinking proactively moving forward that we either have to collect it at the time of closing or have an arrangement, like Chris said, at the time of closing on collecting our benefit, our fees for the benefit. So.
But we do have recourse to collect that. I mean, that business would never potentially go defunct and leave us. I mean, we have for that. Do we have any recourse?
No.
No, zero.
We don't have a position with those, where we might in a loan. I don't think we have a position there. It's not like, so.
You know,
We're talking about two different things.
yeah, we could always sue them for it.
Right.
And unless
Bear in
everything,
mind that kind of a business, Chris, you know better than anyone, probably looking at 2 years out before they even hit a positive cash flow.
Yeah, the schedule right now, the last time I talked with Casey, they had weddings scheduled for October. Since that time, they have had 3 scheduled for September, with 1 cancellation where the marriage broke up. And they still have the 4 for October, and they do have some scheduled for next year. So it's,
my concern is more moving forward. I understand and I'm comfortable with the arrangement you made with them. But I think in the future, these are discussions we have at the time of negotiating the agreement. So, and once again, we're still working with Amish Furniture Place, Painful Acres, and
Yep.
Colleen's is 1 month out, and that's happens occasionally.
Colleen has since made 1 payment, so
Yeah.
she's still 1 behind.
So our outstandings are in pretty good shape. So,
Very good shape.
and that would be it for the treasurer's report.
Make a motion, we upset.
That's his job.
No, I said I make the motion.
Bill moves it, yes, that's right.
I saw it. Thank you for raising your hand too. 'Cause we have a second.
I'll
Can
second.
we get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Paul, I had the same reflection on everything you covered. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, barring that, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Committee reports, anything we want to bring up or add for alternative energy, it's on here. It's ad hoc.
We haven't had a meeting, so, and I haven't seen anything come through that would make us need to have a meeting.
There is a
Oh,
Bayside developer in Lyme proposing 150 megawatt, couple thousand acres. It's got the town of Lyme in a uproar.
With or without batteries?
Without.
Oh, well, that should make it all good.
well, if you follow what the state is talking about, they want to mandate storage on all facilities at some point. That isn't the case yet. I think that will come.
Mhm.
But
One thing under alternative energy, I found it very, the upcoming resolutions that we're about to pass with the sale provided some very valuable statistical information on build out cost and
well, I talked to Marshall. It'd be nice before we do one of these, Justin, if we could find out what the transfer cost was, just so we could compare it to see what the state's at. What are they buying and what are they paying for it, and compare it to what the state is saying they're worth. That'd be more important than anything else I saw in the cost and build out. So, because right about now, cost means nothing as it relates to if we're talking about how the towns, schools, and county look at these, it's determined by that model. It'd be nice to see what these projects are really worth in a arm's length transaction compared to what the state is letting us.
And a question for Justin, with authorizing this notice of resale, do we have any leverage to try and capture power purchase agreements as part of the transfer?
What do you mean by capture? Or just
What are they?
that they're-
They have, Oya has a contract to put electricity onto the grid at such a price, right?
No, they're a community solar, which means they entered a program where X amount of that power, I think 40% goes to commercial, and they have to offer to residentials at a certain less than. So I don't know how, when they've agreed to a package of incentives to do that all of a sudden we can say, oh, but you're going to give us this power.
Well, no, I'm just trying to capture the revenue stream from the sale of electricity through a community solar project.
Yeah, it's largely subscription based. They're required to go out and find a pool of customers that are qualified and within a region that the community solar array will serve. So the larger scale are different with offtake PPAs, but the community scale, generally they have to build in assumptions and costs associated with bundling customers. To Paul's question, the application supplement that we asked them to fill out and send into us with the request does have a project purchase price line item there that you can look at as an indicator of what these trade at this level. And in the big picture, what my assumption here is seeing one of their prior projects go to this firm called Greco, which is largely out of England, Scotland, I think. These two projects are finally finding their forever home, if you will. It seems to me that they've landed in the hold mode now. And I made sure that we got an indicator of what the MIPA, the membership interest purchase agreement consideration is. And needed to take into account what is being paid and what OYA has as a sunk cost for all the attributes and construction. So there's a delta there that you could infer some value out of in terms of backing that into the valuation model that the state requires.
Well, I missed that, but okay, I'll take another look at it.
Anything else under alternative energy? Okay. I don't believe we have unfinished business, but do we? Any unfinished business?
No, sir.
Okay. New business, there's one matter we can discuss briefly. Marshall, you can probably head it up, the audit, and then another one we're kind of working on, so it got kicked into next meeting, so there will be some new business next meeting. The audit, we had a pre-meeting the other day, and I assume it's fair to just give a recap to the rest of the board, Marshall?
100%. Yes,
Okay.
we.
Whoever.
Yeah, Lyle actually spoke for the bulk of the meeting. But so we have some auditors here. They're doing they're looking at, so this is in response to the 2020 audit that we had. And then some I'm not going to define them as levels of severity, but it was, they were fairly minor, I would say.
Corrective action.
So there was some corrective action plan. They refer to it as a CAP. There's some staff here today, and they're going to be here for about 10 days as they look at projects and to make sure we're adhering to our corrective action plan that we had developed in response to the 2020 audit. And so they're working through that, and then they will let us know how we're doing. And there isn't any further response to this, but it's really just sort of a follow-up to that corrective action plan.
Yeah, I believe they said they would issue a letter at the end, not another report.
Yes, they will issue a letter of which we don't respond to.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. All right. Good. Any questions about that, rest of the team? Okay. So that moves us starting to page 18, right through the end of the packet. Justin, if you want to sort of give us the preamble of what we're working on for at least the first two. I think the third one's self-explanatory, but you might as well hit the first two, then we can take action on those, and then come to the third one, the tower lease approval, because it's separate and different.
Sure, yeah, happy to explain. As you folks have received, reviewed, and approved assignment requests in the past, this is another set submitted by OYA, who had several projects go through the pipeline over the past few years. In terms of context and background, we're handling a third up in Franklin County that was developed on generally the same time frame as these two projects. You also had OYA Ellisburg, if you recall, being assigned late last year out of the same development firm, OYA, based in Ontario, Canada. They're selling largely their entire portfolio in New York. These two projects are one of several. The third I'm aware of is in Franklin County, and there's a few others in the Finger Lakes that are moving at the same clip. Franklin County's slated to approve their assignment resolution on the 14th of August. The two before you are fairly standard requests. What we've done that is a little bit different than in the past is, in addition to asking them to send a somewhat detailed written request for assignment for board consideration, we're also sending an application supplement form that was included in your packet that, in essence, provides an as-built budget as opposed to the very early numbers you saw as part of the application process. We include within that the MIPA purchase price, what is being spent or what is being paid to purchase the membership interest in each of the projects.
We'll have an 8:45 meeting.
Please, feel free to have a seat.
And in addition to that, we get details and specifics on the buyer. In this case, a Greco, a large concern out of the United Kingdom. And their organizational chart is 20 entities deep. But largely, these are leveraged in a fairly complex manner to allow them to bundle and take down all of the various depreciation and renewable energy tax credits. So all you're getting out of these is the early development arm. A builder and a Greco's coming in, as I mentioned before, as more of the forever home for ownership of the project through its useful life.
Thank you. I would be interested, I think, to Paul and Justin's discussion, no urgency, but it would be interesting for staff to give us a comparison at the next board meeting to, what did we approve initially and what did it actually cost? I'm kind of curious what the variance was, unless it's disclosed somewhere here, but it's well hidden to me. It would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I think we could do a side-by-side. As is your policy, we requested, and they were amenable to submitting the $2,000 assignment application fee. Lyle did receive each of those deposits for this. We can do a line by line if you have a keen interest in a comparison between the proposed development costs and the actuals being certified now. If there's a meaningful or material delta there may be an admin fee consideration that you can attach as a condition of these closing, and we can arrange for the collection of that.
It would certainly be interesting to me, like Ed indicated, if we have knowledge to build upon for future projects, which do seem to be few and far between as of late, but knowledge is key. So having the information is very good. And this customer has been the most forthcoming of all customers we've had to work with right from the very get-go. So it's good.
Justin,
So,
excuse me, Rob. Are you
go
done?
ahead.
You mentioned MIPA, and I'm looking at what we received in our packet, including MIPA consideration as a component of the total project. And I guess I'm looking into numbers, and where does that appear in is that the $8.3 million, Justin? That's the.
Yeah, if you look at that list of the application supplement, there's one line item that asks for their minimum consideration, what they're paying to buy the entity. And that includes all of the sunk costs that
And where is that in what we received, or was that not included in the packet? I guess I'm having a senior moment here. I'm looking at, I see where you mentioned they have to include the MIPA, the membership interest purchase agreement, but I'm not sure, was that included? I see nothing that lays out what that was as in a number format. Did we
on the
not?
first page, did the version you have, is that still blank, or did the updated version? There was a version that came through with the NIPA line item included on.
I'll ask staff to send me the most current one, and if I have questions, I'll contact you again.
I don't think that actual document's in our packet.
I mean, I think it's important to know what we're looking at, what the municipalities have to look between cost and what they're going to get in the form of a pilot. And it's more about if we have to move forward on a future project. I mean, we have none in the hopper.
No. I think that can show up in the side-by-side. It's empowering for our agency to understand, and I think it's important for the county to understand. The county has differences from project to project on tax incentives, and it'd be interesting to know, like, what are these really generating for revenue in the county? I don't want to speak for Bill, but I think having information is key.
Are we to the point where you're looking for a motion for the resolution?
I didn't read it yet, so I'm
Okay.
I'll page 25, we have our first resolution. 08.01.2024.01, resolution of Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency authorizing the proposed assignment of membership interest in the company pursuant to an assignment and assumption agreement and authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to same. Justin already gave us a preamble. This is for Oya Robinson Road LLC. The parcel numbers are listed in the second whereas clause. Later on, it talks about who it is being transferred to. It's like the fifth whereas clause. AETS OpCo Holdings, controlled by Agreco. And then the rest of it was, I think, adequately covered in the preamble. So this is a roll call vote. We take a motion first to accept the resolution.
So moved.
And, okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? The second one will go in the same fashion, so this is a good time to ask questions and apply to both. Okay, roll call vote, please, Peggy.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lisa. Yes. Dave.
Yes.
Resolution carries, so page 36 of our packet. Nearly the same resolution, just different names. Resolution 08.01.2024.02, resolution of the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency authorizing the proposed assignment of membership interest in a company pursuant to an assignment and assumption agreement authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to same. This is for Oya Wayside Drive LLC. That's in the partial numbers are in the second whereas clause, and the fifth whereas clause, again, AETS OpCo Holdings will be the new parent controlled by Agreco Energy Transition. We have a motion to accept the resolution as read, please.
So moved.
I'll give you, those are a first and a second, Peggy, you choose.
Oh, I got Dave. Who was the second?
John.
John, thank you.
Yeah, they're like literally identically at the same time. Okay, any other discussion or questions? Again, a roll call.
They put me on mute.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lisa. Yes. Dave.
Yes.
All right, Justin, this one's a little different. It does appear at face value pretty understandable, but just walk us through, looks like a power lease approval on a property we have assets or loans into, Clayton Harbor Hotel.
Yeah, sure. The IDA, I think 10 or 12 years ago, entered into a lease-back transaction and pilot agreement to assist the Clayton Harbor Hotel up on the bay. And standard transaction for the most part. They have since been approached by Verizon. There's kind of a dead area up there for cellular communications, not only on the American side, but also on the Canadian side. So they entered into negotiations with Verizon to construct and install cellular communications antenna on top of the building. They approached the IDA under the IDA leaseback documents. The IDA's consent is required to put that sublease into the facility, and we worked with them and kind of gated this along the way to coincide with their planning approvals with the planning board up there. We didn't want to get ahead of that, and on a technical level, we were kind of in a better position if we provide our consent once the planning board has done its job and a secret review has been completed, and that just occurred in the last week or so. On a technical level, when you provide pilot benefits for a particular project, it relates to the rateable and the facility that was described and approved in your original application. And that's, in this case, is a hotel and conference center. It did not include cellular communications towers. So what we did as part of consenting to the sublease and the installation of the improvements is we made it very clear that the assessor is gonna establish a separate sub-tax parcel for the improvements, which is fairly common. And those will generate full taxes outside of our pilot agreement to be paid by the owner of the building and presumably Verizon under the sublease outside of the pilot. So we're not inadvertently providing an exemption for the improvement. So they've been easy to work with. David Hart and the owners of that hotel have a couple similar facilities throughout the state. At this point, the resolution that you have is just to provide a formal consent to the sublease. And we'll attend to the signatures of Marshall and the team to get it wrapped up.
Okay. One question, do we have to take a separate vote on the subordination agreement, or does the resolution cover that?
The resolution covers that. That's the IDA's consent is going to be buried right within that agreement.
Okay, good. I didn't sort of pick that out of there. Page 50 of our packet, resolution 08.01.2024.03, resolution of the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency authorizing the proposed assignment of membership interest in the company pursuant to an assignment and assumption agreement and authorizing the execution and delivery of documents relating to same. It's for the Clayton Harbor Hotel. As preambled, it's to co-locate a cellular cell tower that they will have a lease. It's on property that we have some lien rights on to. There's a lot of information within here, and I don't think we have to go through much more. We can have a motion to accept the resolution and then have discussion if any. So if we have a motion, please.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second it.
good. First and a second. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa and Ed. Any other discussion? Okay. If
I've got
barring any-
Quick
Go ahead.
question. Did this go through the planning board quite easily? No problem.
There's a planning board.
Sorry,
letter.
I
saw it.
yeah,
I saw it.
they had about a 4-month process, it looked like, going through the planning board. And it seemed like the planning board, had the standard set of questions back and forth with engineering, and they were successful getting through in the last few weeks.
Based on what Clayton's done downtown, I doubt it was done in a way that we'll even notice it's there, probably. So.
We have first, second. Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote again, please.
Rob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Lisa. Yes. Dave.
Yes.
Okay, resolution carries. I think that brings us to motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, we have a first, second.
I'll second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Very good. This meeting stands adjourned. Justin, I think I was confused last time, so I'm so confused. Am I supposed to chair this meeting until they appoint officers? The Victoria Redevelopment Corporation?
At this point, the appointed board is going to meet. They can open the meeting with kind of an ad hoc chair.
Okay. I just didn't know what the process was. It's still confusing. Okay. Good. I'll just listen then. Perfect.
Yeah, so at this point, if we're going to convene the meeting of the appointed directors, they kind of have taken the table at this point, and I can assist that board walk through the organizational resolution and talk a little bit about what the IDA board did as the member of the corporation and the initial directors of the corporation last month. The intent of this meeting is for the appointed directors, which are comprised of IDA, LDC, and local officio representatives. The appointed directors are going to get together today to establish board officers, make appointments of staff, and kind of do some housekeeping stuff to get ready and be prepared to, in the coming months, undertake regular business meetings as the redevelopment project moves forward with transfer of title to the county and other matters. So today's mostly getting through the final steps of housekeeping and moving through the formalization of this corporation as the development arm of the project. If there's any initial questions, I can help go through the resolutions that are prepared for the meeting, or go through any initial questions. I defer to you folks in terms of format and how you want to start working through stuff.
I see, if it pleases the board, that if we just start with the resolutions.
Sure. The agenda includes a call to order, assuming you're all there. We can make sure that we have a forum established. There is on the agenda, the initial director's minutes, which were adopted on June 27th. I can explain those, and for posterity's sake, this board of appointed directors can ratify those minutes of the initial directors. By way of background, just to explain how the corporate structure works here a little bit for posterity. The IDA established this special local development corporation to be the leadership entity and redevelopment entity for the former mill. As you're aware, the county is poised to take title or has taken title in REM to the facility, and the plan generally is to have the redevelopment corporation, this board, take title from the county to serve as it's what's called a bankruptcy remote special purpose entity. And in essence, it's a protective corporate entity to hold title to protect from unknown environmental liabilities and also provide flexibility for future redevelopment. Local development corporations in New York State are special non-for-profit corporations that have powers to work with municipalities and help with what's called the lessening of the burdens of government. In this case, the lessening of burdens is to take on redevelopment of a contaminated property that's been abandoned and has redevelopment challenges. In this particular case, the state through JCIDA has taken a bit of a lead role in providing seed funding to study the property, and it also wants to bring funding to the table and in collaboration to site a renewable energy facility on the property as a future redevelopment opportunity. And there are portions of the property that contain abandoned buildings and other challenges that the corporation will have a role in directly deploying and managing as a redevelopment arm, if you will. The IDA created the entity and serves as its sole member. A local development corporation is what's called a membership corporation in New York State. The IDA serves as the sole member and really sits and exists as an appointing arm, an oversight committee to the corporation, and appoints its board of directors. In this case, you have 7 directors who are here today, who have been appointed by the IDA to undertake the regular business of the corporation and be the stewards going forward. As the member and as initial directors, the IDA board took care of some of the heavier lifting for housekeeping already. When you form a local development corporation in New York State and it has a close tie to a public benefit corporation or a municipality, it's governed by what's called the Public Authorities Accountability Act, which brings this board and this entity into the open and transparent laws that the IDA needs to operate under, JCLDC needs to live under. The entity meets as an open meeting and is subject to FOIL. You have annual reporting requirements under the Public Authorities Act. So what the IDA board did as an accommodation to start the process last month was to meet and adopt a set of bylaws that the corporation will utilize. And it also adopted all of the necessary policies and procedures, in essence, the initial corporate kit that a local development corporation needs to have established if it's operating as a local authority in New York State. Those policies are procurement policies, investment policies, property disposition policies, standard stuff. In essence, and for lack of a better term or the use of the word plagiarism, those policies largely mirror the same ones that the IDA and JCLDC have in place now. So you're running under the same general rules and policies as the IDA and the LDC do throughout the county. With those adopted, the initial directors, in essence, turned over the keys after June 27th, and the appointed directors who are gathered here today, the 7 individuals, are now in charge. You're carrying the torch now and managing the operations of the corporation. The resolution that we have prepared today, we go into that, reflects you organizing your